Hi everybody, this is SAAD. It's Friday night. It should be the weekend, but here I am speaking to you yet again to address the unbelievable lunacy that we are facing. So this morning I woke up and decided to weigh in on a decision that was rendered in the bastion of freedom known as Europe. This is from the European Court of Human Rights. Before I read you the actual judgment, this was released. This is a press release that was issued by the registrar of the court, because a lot of people wrote back to me and said, bruh, you're not being fair. You're not reporting the situation as it truly occurred. And all I did was actually share a news report. This is what the Wall Street Journal says. You know that unknown newspaper. Europe court upholds ruling against woman who insulted Islam. Human rights court says disparagement of religious doctrines such as insulting the Prophet Muhammad isn't protected by freedom of speech. Gee, that seems like totally contrary to what I might have assumed when I said, oh look, it appears as though Sharia law has come to Europe. So let me read to you again the heading. Europe court upholds ruling against woman who insulted Islam. Human rights court says disparagement of religious doctrines such as insulting the Prophet Muhammad isn't protected by freedom of expression. My God, I really misrepresented the case. So a lot of people wrote to me, but bruh, if only you would read the actual thing instead of spreading fake news, then, because Wall Street Journal is fake news, and the other 73,000 news outlets that have reported exactly roughly the same headline, they're all fake news. So I took the advice of the naturally lobotomized and intellectually castrated and went to the actual press release issued by the registrar of the courts. Let me read it for you. In today's chamber judgment in the case of ES versus Austria, the European Court of Human Rights held unanimously that there had been no violation of Article 10, meaning freedom of expression, of the European Convention on Human Rights. The case concerned the applicant's conviction for disparaging religious doctrines. She had made statements suggesting that Muhammad had had pedophilic tendencies. The court found in particular that the domestic courts, Austria, comprehensively assessed the wider context of the applicant's statement and carefully balanced her right to freedom of expression with the right of others to have their religious feelings protected, and served the legitimate aim of preserving religious peace in Austria. So you see, you weigh freedom of speech with not insulting the religious feelings of the noble ones. That's not at all Sharia law. I was completely wrong. I utterly misrepresented the case, as did every news outlet. It held that by considering the impugned statements as going beyond the permissible limits of an objective debate, and by classifying them as an abusive attack on the Prophet of Islam, which could stir up prejudice and threaten religious peace, the domestic courts put forward relevant and sufficient reasons. So the truly enemies of reason from the West who wrote to me to say, bruh, you're misrepresenting by sharing the Wall Street Journal or any of the other news outlet, you're misrepresenting what truly happened. And if only you would go to the judgment, you would see that it's not as bad as what you said. So I just read you a paragraph. So insulting the Prophet of Islam is not something that's permissible because it might stir up hurt feelings and it might cause, the marginalization of a particular group. And therefore, we have to weigh freedom of expression and freedom of speech against the people's feelings. That's what's written in the actual judgment, the one that they asked me to go and check out. Boy, I now feel much better that freedom of speech is safe and sound in Europe. Now imagine the people who are writing to me with those arguments, with indignation. Why are you spreading false news, fake news, Gatsad? When literally all I'm doing is sharing the link of a story that broke in only 93 trillion different news outlets, right? I mean, I didn't go to www.gamerjoesblog.com to get this information. All of the major news outlets reported this. No, I'm spreading fake news, and if only I would read the real ruling, I would feel much better about it. So let me read you a bit more from the decision. The court noted that those who choose to exercise the freedom to manifest their religion under Article 9 of the Convention could not expect to be exempt from criticism. Okay, that's nice. They must tolerate and accept the denial by others of their religious beliefs. Okay. Only where expressions under Article 10 went beyond the limits of a critical denial, and certainly where they were likely to incite religious intolerance, might a state legitimately consider them to be incompatible with respect for the freedom of thought, conscience, and religion, and take proportionate restrictive measures. So what they're basically saying is, if you do blaspheme in a way that it renders those other people to feel hurt by your criticism, you could deny that Islam is a valid religion. That's okay. We still tolerate that in Europe. But come on, don't push it. Don't criticize the Prophet of Islam. By the way, the fact that you address Muhammad as the Prophet Muhammad, that itself is if you like, a slow incursion of Sharia law. When people address Jesus, they don't say the Lord Savior of the universe, Jesus Christ, typically, or whatever the proper qualifier before the name of Jesus. Okay? So drip, drip, drip. Let's go on. The court found in conclusion that the instant case, the domestic courts carefully balanced the applicant's right to freedom of expression with the rights of others to have their religious feelings protected and to have religious peace preserved in Austrian society. So basically, anything that causes someone to feel indignant about you threatening or about you criticizing their religion, as would be the case with the noble religion of perpetual peace, tolerance, and love, would be off bounds, because it would cause a lack of religious peace, or it would cause, like in this case, religious feelings being hurt and not being protected. So again, let me reiterate. People wrote to me, indignant at me, because apparently I was spreading false news. Wall Street Journal is fake news. All of the top journals in Europe are all fake news. They asked me to go to the actual ruling by the court, which when you read, it leaves your jaw wide open. You drop your jaw out of astonishment that this court ruling exists. They're thinking that if only I went to the court ruling, somehow I would see, oof, no problem. It's perfectly okay. So you truly wonder, who are the people who are doing this? Who are the people who are so lobotomized that they don't see the bigger picture? In a free society in the 21st century, the idea that you should be careful in not offending any religion, you should be allowed to stand on a pedestal and say, Judaism is a crock of garbage, and anyone who believes in Judaism is an idiot. I'm Jewish. And guess what? I would look at you, shrug my shoulders, and move on. That's what a free society is. Once you say, sure, you're allowed freedom of speech, but you can't, look, Prophet Muhammad is off limits. By the way, the point was that Muhammad married Aisha when she was 6 and consummated the marriage when she was 9. And there is endless Islamic scriptures that support that. And of course, since that has now become a rather objectionable statement of fact about that historical reality, there are unbelievable mental gymnastics level attempts to explain what 6 and 9 means. No, 6 and 9, it meant if only you understood Arabic philology, 9 is really 9 modulo 3, integral 7, differential equations, that adds up to 19. It's because 9 really is 19 minus 7. It's because she came into season earlier during that period. It's endless. The mental gymnastics are unbelievable. It is a statement of fact, according to Islamic scriptures, that he married her when she was 6 and consummated the marriage when she was 9. And I could share with you many websites that are quite definitive about this. It's not contested in the least bit. So someone decides to share this information as part of a seminar. This is the person who was fined for saying bad things about Prophet Muhammad. Now, she may have not said it in the nice way. She wasn't particularly respectful, but it is a fact. It is in Islamic scriptures. I can bring out those scriptures for you. So what is it that you are punishing her for? And what if she even had said something that was wrong? In a free society, are you allowed to say something that is wrong? Or you're not allowed to say it if it's wrong and it hurts someone's feelings? What about if you say something that is factually true and it hurts religious feelings? Geert Wilders, the Dutch parliamentarian, was summoned to court on a few occasions because he hurt the sensibilities of the noble ones. And in one of the cases, if I remember correctly, the magistrate said, it doesn't matter if what you say is true or not. If you say something that is true, but that causes, if you'd like, mischief, which by the way in Arabic, fitna, then it's not right. You're not allowed to do that. So it is literally Sharia law, but I have idiots writing to me and saying, bruh, why are you spreading fake news? So instead of these people who live in still free societies saying, my goodness, the bigger picture suggests that we should never tolerate this. You should be allowed to make fun of Mormonism and Scientology and Judaism and Christianity and Islam and anything else, and communism and any scientific theory and any scientist and any public figure. You should be allowed to do whatever you want in a free society. The only thing that you're not allowed to do is the proverbial screaming fire in a theater. You can't defame and engage in libelous lies against someone, and those few exceptions. Otherwise, freedom of speech is absolute. And those who are writing to me and trying to parse, hair split things that not only are they wrong on, but that causes them to so desperately lose the grand plot, they simply baffle me. They genuinely disgust me, because I come from societies where we didn't have those freedoms. And I'm so proud and thankful that I live in a society where I could open the camera still and speak to you, hopefully without any consequences coming my way. But don't forget, in Canada, we now have the motion M103. Don't be Islamophobic, bruh. By the way, another thing that happened today is I tweeted to Richard Dawkins and I said, hey, look at this ruling about not being able to insult Islam coming from a European court. Gee, I could really understand now why you would be so upset that people would want to, Brexit. Because, of course, no sovereign country would love nothing more than to have no control over its borders and to have others dictate what they can or can't say. A few people wrote to me, you are such a moron. This particular court is not within the jurisdiction of the EU and all of the other pedantic hair-splitting stuff. Yes, it might very well be true that the jurisdictional details of this court do or do not fall within the EU. I don't care. It is irrelevant. There's a greater story here. Is it rational for people who come from a sovereign nation to feel concerned that there are supra-courts, supra-legislative bodies consisting of people who are not elected by the people from those sovereign countries? Or do they have the right to feel concerned by such a reality? And the answer is yes. And they don't have to be toothless bigots who sleep with their sisters to be concerned by these realities. And yet, my man Richard Dawkins repeatedly goes on Twitter, on social media, and many of his other bien-pensant colleagues, all of whom are convinced that these low information voters, all these morons who voted for Brexit, are all IQ deficient. It's simply unbelievable, the level of elitism and intellectual arrogance. The exact same thing happened in the United States with everybody. All 63 million people who voted for Trump are all intellectually deficient. There is no conceivable way by which someone who is sophisticated, rational, and reasonable could have found something of value in Trump over Hillary Clinton. This is the world we live in. This is the world that I try to fight. And again, believe me when I say, I don't have a dog in this fight. It's not as though I wake up every day and worry about the legislative realities of Europe. It's not as though I wake up every day worried about the politics of the US. What worries me, what upsets me, are grand patterns. Patterns whereby there are attacks on our freedoms. So the criticisms that I levy are always at a supra level. I don't care about Hillary Clinton or Donald Trump. I don't care about whether this court is within the EU jurisdiction or not. This is morons who are concerned with tree level thinking. I'm looking at the big forest. Is it a good idea when we have repeated cases all over Europe where you effectively have blasphemy laws against criticizing Islam? If you think that that's a bad idea, then you don't waste your time sending me moronic messages. All right, people, let me take a deep breath, serenity now, namaste, and let me go have dinner with my family. I wish you all a good weekend. Cheers.